All right. Now I've set the recording. Welcome, everybody. This is the first of three of the webinar that's basically, I'm going to get myself on here. So not skilled in this world. Here we go. There we go. So welcome. This is the first of three of webinars that I've got for what is Masterful Coaching really? And I'll let everybody know this has come from this is actually part of the first lesson of an advanced coach training program that I offer. I'm not going to do a big sell thing. I'm only going to give you one or two of the things and then to get the rest. But I will say that we probably won't have the time to get through all of the details, but I'm going to really pack in as much as I can. The class, if anybody is interested, and I'll mention more about it later, the class, there is a round beginning in just a week, my goodness, September 15th. You can get more information at mastermycoaching.com. And it offers a huge amounts of coach training hours, ACSTH, continuing coach education units, mentoring hours, and powerful coach training. So go check it out. See if it's something that you want to jump in on, and I'm happy to answer any questions about this after the webinar, just if you've got any questions about the class or anything else that I have to offer and share. But I really want to get this out to you. So double check to the website, mastermycoaching.com, and I'll quickly type that in. This is where I really need a good VA. Okay, that's somebody calling me. We're not talking. Ugh, timing. All right. So we're all here. What is Masterful Coaching, really? And where I wanted to point to is that in my experiences, I've been coaching. Oh, all timing. First, I'll do a little intro about who I am and why am I doing this, just for anybody who's kind of curious. I'm Ben Dooley. I'm an MCC coach, and I've been coaching and training coaches, I would say probably for about 15 years now. It started years ago in my own hungry pursuit for being excellent at what I do. And really, you can go into the chat if you want. I've got just me on video here so that everybody else is, you don't have to worry about being revealed. But you can always pop in and answer things on the chat. And anybody here want to really grow as a coach? Type in your comments and yes, and I'm all here and passionate for this. We're all here. Yeah, and we're all here to grow and learn and be powerful and strong at what we do. And my own experience and approach is that, our coaching is really important. Coaching, to really serve my clients really well. What I've learned is that we get taught wonderful things. We get taught a beautiful model and design of coaching. Beautiful design of coaching. We get taught powerful skills. We've gotten great training. And how many times have you noticed when that stuff doesn't work so well? You're on a coaching session with your client. You're trying your best to do the stuff that you learned, and it's just not working. Things are getting in the way. Really, the thing that's getting in the way is the client. The client. The problem is that the client is not doing it right. All right, I'm going to have to put a pause on this. I've got somebody desperately calling me. Hold on. All right, let's try that again. That was my business partner calling back twice. So suddenly it's like, uh-oh, is there a meeting or something that I'm not aware of? Everything's fine. Let me try that again. Take two. How perfect. I'm going to launch, before we get into the actual lesson, I'm just going to grab this in the moment because, like I said, each webinar is going to be different. Boy, we're going to talk later in this. Masterful Coach deals with the unexpected stuff. It's kind of what I was just talking about, right? The client comes in and you have this wonderful plan of working with your client. The client has hopefully a topic that they want to work on, and best plans just don't work, right? And unexpected stuff gets in the way, and interruptions occur. And how do you stay on top of it? How do you keep your focus? How do you keep bringing in that value to your clients? So again, type it in. If you notice, like, yeah, you've got, if your client would just follow the rules and make it easier, you would be able to get some great coaching done, of course. Yeah. So that's what we're here for, is how to start accessing a deeper part of us. And when we look at Masterful Coaching, as I said, I was on a hunt. I was on a quest to grow myself because there wasn't a lot of coaching out there that was training that taught us how to be stronger, more powerful, more resilient, and more flexible, able to handle all the unexpected things that occur, and how to handle and work with our clients when our perfect training isn't working beautifully. So that's what I'm here to share with you. So we're going to first take a look at a couple of myths, actually, we're going to back up a little bit because I want to get a bead on all of you, because part of what we're talking about is our coaching confidence. This is an area that I explore tremendously with the coaches I work with, and even in myself. Because what I learned and discovered is, if we're confident in what we do, then all the unexpected stuff actually works pretty. There we go. Unexpected things happening again. Please mute if you're having a
Rodica. Mă gândeam la Eugenia.
Oh. How do I mute everybody?
Sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. All right. So today's call is filled with unexpected things. So in my own pursuit, I discovered that confidence is how we stay on track. Confidence is is the thing that helps us keep going, even in those times of uncertainty, even when those unexpected things occur. Somebody's talking, they don't have an idea. The phone is ringing, they don't know what's happening. And yet, these are interruptions and things that get in the way. And yet, if we're solid and confident with who we are and what we do, and we're confident with everything that's here in this moment, then we can handle all that unexpected stuff. And confidence comes from that Latin word fide, which is fidelity, which is trust. Confidence is about trust. This is the key to growing our coaching, is that we learn how to trust in so many ways. Trust our clients, trust ourselves, trust our skills, trust in the moment, trust that everything here is happening and it's okay, that there's actually nothing wrong. That deep trust in the client. So remember when I said something about our coaching we've been trained to do brilliant, wonderful coaching. And it's all fantastic with one little problem, the client. The client is not doing it right. Well, I'm going to first give you the first cardinal rule of powerful, masterful coaching. This is really the powerful rule, the cardinal, sacred, unyielding rule of all coaching. But truly, if you're going to step in and really hold yourself to that powerful, masterful level, this must be in place. So get your pens, papers ready to write this down. Do not ever forget this. In your coaching, the client can never do client wrong. It's just that simple. The client can never do client wrong. Now, since we've got a smaller group, I want to open up the microphones, open up the lines, and just hear from everybody just a little bit about what that means for you, what it opens up, what it inspires. Just in that, what is this? What comes up for you just in the sacred cardinal rule? The client can never do client wrong. And anyone. Let me get to the group list here, participants. Anybody?
Can I go?
Please.
So what comes up for me when I hear that is that the client is inherently resourceful, and the client inherently will never do something wrong intentionally to themselves. So whatever they are doing has a relevance and meaning for the larger good of the client, and we need to trust that. So if there's no question about the client doing anything wrong to themselves, unless there is a need for a psychology, a psychiatric issue where then they don't need to be coached and they need to be referred. But as long as they are within the scope of coaching, they can't do anything wrong to themselves.
Beautiful, beautiful. I think, Gloria, you had your hand up, or did you? It looks like you took it down.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yes, I had my hand. Yeah, so what comes up for me is that the client is the expert in their life, right?
Yeah.
They feel what they feel, they're going through what they're going through. And so they can't be wrong with what they're going through and how they're showing up, so that's what comes up for me.
Yeah. Robbie.
What comes up for me is curiosity. So if we don't have our agenda, that we're coming in with something that we have in mind, then with what is showing up, if we truly brought curiosity, where would that take us?
Yeah. Beautiful. I love everything that everybody's adding. I'm going to add this a little bit more. What about those times when the client disagrees with you, when the client is shut down, frustrated, stuck, angry, when they're defiant? Anybody ever have that? Yeah. Like you're trying your best, the client is just not doing it right. They're being resistant. They're being in their way. Oh, client, if you would just listen to what I'm telling you, your life would be easier. Somebody continue on. Robbie, was that a new hand?
No.
Okay. So what about?
I can say something.
Yeah,
So it usually happens when they are not prepared yet, and we just push maybe too fast to when coaches feel like overwhelmed and somehow they need to show some results. So client, why don't you help me show some results in this session?
Come on, client. Oh, Punit, yes.
Yeah, this reminds me of Carl Rogers, because it is clearly the client's need. And the moment the coach starts thrusting their expectation, it ceases to be the coach. It becomes the coach's agenda and the judgment of the coach, which goes against the basic tenet of coaching. So
Yeah.
I think it means just let them decide what they want and have utmost respect for that. Their speed, their pace, meet them where they are.
Beautifully put. Clearly, all of you are skilled, trained, beautiful coaches. And it's not always so easy, is it? Yeah. I mean, it's a wonderful, we've all been trained. Client is whole, the client is powerful, client is the expert of their lives. The client can never do client wrong. And absolutely right. When we start to have that own expectation of how the client is supposed to go, we're bringing in our own agenda. Now, in the class, there's a huge amount of dealing with our coaching agenda. And I'm going to actually break a bit of a myth here. We're told we're not supposed to have agendas, right? We're not supposed to have agendas. Only the client has an agenda. Unfortunately, that is absolutely 100% impossible. We all have agendas. We all have things that we want every single moment. We have things, especially when we're coaching. We have agendas that we want to help the client. We have agendas that we want to make sure we're doing a good job. We have agendas that we want to make sure we're earning our money and that we've got a happy client and maybe they'll give referrals or they'll come back. We have agendas if we're learning new tools and techniques and things that we want to practice in our coaching. We have agendas of just looking good and making sure we're not causing trouble and being liked and all of that stuff. There's saboteur agendas, there's higher self agendas, there's inner power agendas, there's all different types of agendas. We have agendas. We as coaches have agendas. And so we have to be aware of that. When we fall into this mythology that we don't have agendas, we shouldn't have agendas, and then we do, then we get caught and we get stuck. And we get frustrated. And now we are instant failures at coaching. Oh, I got an agenda here. Oh, I'm not supposed to have one. No, actually, what it is you're all human. You're all human. And that is our human designs. We are here to want things, whether it's to want to survive and stay alive, or whether it's wanting to thrive and grow and be stronger, or whatever it is. Everything that we do has some kind of purpose or meaning. What's important is that we are not allowing our agenda to get in the way. Yeah, almost. It's actually recognizing what agendas are coming up in our end. What agendas are being activated and triggered. So absolutely right that if we're managing ourselves properly and powerfully, there are some agendas that are going to cause problems and get in the way. For example, I have an agenda that we get to the end of this and that we get your problem fixed. That could be a problem. I have an agenda of being of full service and of support. That's different. See, I have a transparency, all right? There's a little agenda of, ooh, wouldn't it be great if everybody on here signed up and hired and joined in the class and got on all these things. Now that if that comes in, that's going to get in the way of this interaction engagement. But if my bigger, deeper agenda of I'm here to help you, I'm here to share and pass along knowledge and growth. So we all have agendas. It's recognizing which agendas are going to get in the way and which ones will serve and support. For the sake of time, so much more about that, but that's just the little thumbnail of this. Making sense so far? Yep. Okay. So that's a big part of it. The client can never do client wrong. Even when they're stuck, even when they're frustrated and angry and shut down. When they start doing it, that's not our way, that's our agenda. But this points to actually some other bigger things. When we hold that openness, now anything is available. If we have that judgment, client, you're not doing it right, then we've actually shut down and we're not coaching. We might be doing some other thing and it might be helpful. I'm not here to judge that, but it's not coaching. So that's the first rule. Okay. So now I want to take a little, so I started talking about, Shanta, question, comment?
Yes, I have a question.
Yes.
So when that occurrence happens, when the client is feeling resistant or frustrated, what you described in that kind of scenario, I'm just curious, what were some of the ways that you handled that situation?
Okay. I'm going to try not to have this be a big commercial, but what I will tell you is because this is lesson 1 of my class, all of that, how do you handle it and what do you do and all of that stuff, that actually is dealt in great detail in the rest of the course. So that's probably what I'm going to end up saying with a lot of things, only in the sense, not as a tantalizing, a manipulation thing, but only for the sake of time, because I could actually go the whole lesson here just on that topic. What I will say, the short answer of that is, again, when we have that confidence and that trust and that knowing the client can never do client wrong. Actually, no, I'm correct myself. We're going to go through some details a little bit later on this call that will actually open up and clarify that. So yes, but great question. Great. What do you do when the client is shut down? When the client is frustrated? When the client is stuck? When the client is defiant? No, coach, you don't understand. So first, recognize it. If we can recognize it, then we can lean into it. We can utilize it. We can stand more masterfully. So we're going to get more into that a little bit on this call. Punit, question, comment?
Yeah. So I'm also exploring when the scenario that you described that the client is being resistant, what are the various possibilities? Where is this coming from? Because the coach is feeling something. The frustration is also there with the coach. The genesis and diagnosis is to be done as to where is this coming from? Is it coming from the coach's own expectation of self and their performance? Or is it coming from the coachee's issues or maybe their inability? Maybe it's beyond the coaching. So does one look at various possibilities and diagnose?
It's coming from actually many different places, and you're absolutely right. And again, to remind you all, you are all also human. And so there's a human default that comes in because we need to make sure that we're getting everything right. Being right means you live, you survive, even when you don't, but it's a survival mode. So when things are not going right in your coaching, then we start to go into a bit more of we get more of a panic mode. We get more of a try to grab and fix and arrest and make sure things are okay mode. We all have our own different defenses. But what typically happens when we're not strong and grounded in our coaching selves is that we lose access to that brilliant coaching stuff that we know. So all this beautiful, brilliant stuff that we know, the client is powerful. The client is the expert of their lives. The client is this, the client is that. We forget in those heated moments. Sometimes, not always. So one of the benefits of this cardinal rule, the client can never do client wrong, is just to sink it in that even when everything feels wrong, and if the client would stop this, and why is the client doing this, and why is that, if we can just hold that this is a sacred rule, even when I'm frustrated and irritated with how it's going, and it's not going right, and it's going downhill, and this includes sample sessions, when we're not actually in agreement and contract, and yet, how many times have we had a sample session where we've got somebody who's just so hooked on, coach, tell me what to do. And they're stuck on their story and they're in their ways. So when we at least hold that truth, client can never do client wrong. That's the first step in recalibrating. And there's so much more. This is just opening up the doors. But I want to now take a moment And look, because we started talking about this world of confidence, trust. And so on a scale of 1 to 10, I want everybody, we can do this really, really simply and easily. Type it in. Type in your number 1 to 10, your current coaching confidence. And I'm going to set the parameters, okay? I'll even give you a 0. A 0 coaching confidence is don't contact me whatsoever. I am the worst coach in the world. I cannot handle a single thing. Even when things are absolutely smooth and perfect and wonderful, I am an absolute mess. Forget it. You're clearly, none of you are a 0. A 10 would be along the lines of bring it on. Whatever you got, bring it on. Whatever you need, I can be that for you. Whatever happens, unexpected or whatever, I can handle it. I got this. I got you. So where is everybody? Yeah, we got some 7s, we got some 6s. Good numbers, yay. 6s, 6.5, good, all right. 7.5, now we're going into decimals, I love it. It's not quite an 8. Oh, now we have an 8. Now, actually, to clarify, 7 to 5, depending on where you are. Yeah. To clarify, those numbers, is one person's 8 better than the other person's 5 or 6? Not at all. Everybody is on everybody's individual scale. You all are on your own pathway, your own journey, your own scale. What you have for your criteria of what makes you a 5 or a 7 or an 8 or whatever, that's your design. But take a moment and notice, and even make a couple of notes. What are some of the characteristics, some of the qualities, some of the reasons why you gave yourself that number? And I want you to advocate for that number. We so easily look to that number and like, well, great. Well, what's missing? Well, what's wrong? Well, what's that? I want to point you to the stuff that's there. It could have been a lower number, but you chose it higher for a very important reason. And that's the stuff that's pointing to the trust that you have. Confidence equals trust. What is it that you trust about yourself? What is it that you trust about your clients? What is it that you trust about your coaching and your experience? And just make those notes for yourself, because those are the seeds that you get to feed and grow. And in the class, we talk about constantly looking at finding what's already here. Because it's really, 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 really difficult to create something out of nothing. Really difficult. But if we've got something, even if it's a little teeny tiny bit, we can take that. We can feed it. We can grow it. The same is true, not just in what we do this with our clients, right? You cannot take your clients someplace where they are not. You cannot grow anything in your clients that's not there, period, at all. But if you can find it, it's there. We are incredible, complex, and vast human beings. And even when your clients are convinced that whatever it is not there, as a coach, we know it's there. And if we find it, now we can grow it. So find that thing in you that you already trust, that you're already confident in. And that's the part that hopefully we're going to grow. I'd love to hear from all of you, but I also want to respect the time and all of that. Presence, trust, listening in the moment, beautiful, evoking awareness, all of that stuff. Yeah, it's all the skills, it's all the tools that we've learned. And really notice, like, you specifically. I this, I that. Own it. We're going to look into now. There's a little bit of a mythology here. How many of us, again, you can raise your hands, or you can smile and wave or thumbs up or whatever. How many here have heard the mythology, and I call it a myth, that it takes 10,000 hours to be a master at something? Right? Yep. Hands. Yep. 10,000 hours. Now, to be clear, this means that if you've been coaching for 9,999 hours, you're apparently still not good enough. But if you get that one extra one, you got it. And now you're brilliant. You're incredible. You're the most amazing coach in the entire world. No, it doesn't work that way. It's just a number. It's a big number. The purpose of it is meant to indicate that it takes a long time to become powerful and skilled at something. We're even going to take a look. We haven't even gotten to, well, what does it mean to be a master yet? That's what we're going to look at. So notice how there's a bit of confusion here. You have to do 10,000 hours of coaching in order to be a master. But what does that mean? And before we even answer that, this is where I started doing the math. Look at this. This is mathematics. This is simple, factual structure mathematics. 10,000 hours, okay? If you had 20 clients from day one, the first day that you decided to call yourself a coach, whether it was your first day of training, or the first day you put up your shingle, or the first day you made your announcement, or the first day you started coaching, or whatever, you got to have 20 clients right from the beginning. Now, that's not too difficult, maybe, considering, well, you got 5 days a week during the work week, so that's 4 clients a day. That's pretty manageable. Okay. Well, so that's 4 clients a day for 5 days a week, so that's 20 clients a week. Now, that also means they're full hour sessions and every single week. So we want to so it's 20 hours every week. Now, there's 52 weeks in a year. We're going to be nice. We're going to give you 2 weeks off for vacation. So that's 50 weeks times 20, which comes to 1,000 hours every year on this pace, which means that you would not reach this 10,000 hour mark until 10 years. 10 years to reach that. Now, I don't know about you guys. I didn't have 20 clients from the very beginning, and I certainly didn't have 20 clients an hour each every single week. And so when we look more realistically, the amount of hours that we're actually accruing, it's going to take more like 15, 20 years, even longer to reach that 10,000 hours mark. And then when we hit it, we're still not even sure what that really means. And from where I'm sitting, and I look at the world, and I look at the people in the world, and I realize that the world doesn't have 20 years to wait for us to figure out how to show up powerfully. The world needs us right now to bring our best selves, our most powerful selves. Whether you've been doing this for a week, whether you've been doing this for 20 years, the world needs you to bring your best full self to serve your clients and to serve and help in the best way you can. So trying to get and achieve these 10,000 hours not only is exhausting and takes forever, but then we still don't know what actually, so what? You get 10,000 hours, then what? And that is where this conversation really gets interesting. Because now, instead of looking at the time, which always seems to be what gets leaned on, right? It's like, well, 10,000 hours, 10,000 hours. I'm more interested in what gets discovered. What gets created? What gets established? What forms? What evolves? What becomes in those 10,000 hours? So if we look at that, if we look at the content, if we look at the experience, if we look at the parts of us that grow and that will be revealed in those 10,000 hours, well, then if we're clear about what those qualities are and what the difference is and what gets discovered and created in 10,000 hours, then it makes perfect sense. Get rid of the 10,000 hours and just focus on what you need to learn and discover. Simple. I was talking with a brilliant coach who was working with a client. She wanted to get her master's degree, and she needed help with her dissertation and all of that. And so he just worked with her, not worrying about any timeline, and just worked and focused on what needed to be accomplished and what was this going to look like and what was this at the end. And then she got it accomplished in a year. So when she graduated, she invited the coach to celebrate with her because he was an integral part of that. And they talked with her supervisor, and the supervisor said, "How did you do this? How did you do this? It normally takes students at least 2 years, if not longer, to accomplish this, and you did it in less than a year." The answer was simple. I didn't know that it was supposed to take 2 years. I just focused on what needed to be accomplished and created and discovered. And then we set our sights on that. We do the same thing with our clients, right? We get clear their endpoints. Whatever it is, if it's business related, family related, money related, health related, any kind of related, our client has goals, our clients have results and things they want to achieve in their lives. And one of the most powerful things that we get to do is, what does it look like when it's done? What does it look like when it's completed? Let's describe this for me. And one of the purposes of that is to then discover, oh, this is what we're going for. Now we can set a clean, clear path instead of just wandering around in circles, eventually finding our way there. We have a clear endpoint, and now we can set our sights and our pathway on how to get there. This is basic coaching. I know each and every one of you do this already with your clients. This is what we get to do with ourselves as coaches. So let's go into that conversation, because it's not really about the time. It's not really about the hours. Yes, with those hours comes experience, but I'm going to be honest. I've done some things for 10,000 hours and more. I wouldn't necessarily call myself a master at it. I've been driving for the last, I lost count, 37 years. I'm good at it. I'm not a master at it. So it's really looking at, how do we define mastery? And it's hard. This is one of the challenges that ICF faces, is that they've got these high credentials of MCC and we've got master coaches, and yet it's hard to really get a clear definition of what mastery is, which is understandable, because if you look at anything where we have masters in our own culture, a master musician, a master actor, a master painter, a master sculptor, how do we define mastery? Is it just being good at what you do? I would guess it's more than that. And that's what we're here to explore. Making sense so far? Yep, nodding heads. Good. Okay. So I'm going to start off by I'm going to start off by going through a basic breakdown of the 3 levels of coaches. And then I'm going to open up the microphone and open up the floor so that we can start throwing in ideas, and then I will build. And yes, Louisa, catch the recording. You can also follow the link to sign up for the future ones. Clearly, it'll be very different because we're already off on different paths. So, but it should be fun. and get the recording too. Okay, so first off, there's 3 basic levels of coaches. Obviously, within there's a wide range of coaches. It's not that everybody is only 3, but for this purpose, we're going to actually reduce the categories to 3 different levels of coaches. And I'm not necessarily saying the ICF credentials of ACC, PCC, and MCC. Not necessarily. So what I'm going to point to first is the beginner coach. We've all been there at some point. I was a beginner coach. You all were beginner coaches. You may still be in that beginner stage. You may have shifted and moved on to the next stage. But let's look at the beginner stage. There's actually some benefits here. Actually, I'm always curious. Let's open up the microphones. Let's do it. I have nothing to do with this, and I don't have an assistance. Everybody, open up your microphones. And I'd be curious, looking at that beginner coach, and I'm going to give it that parameter of just in your basic training, recall those times when you were there. And if you're still there, well, it's easier to recall. But that beginning training, your first year, it's still new, it's still whatever it is. And I actually want to hear from some of you, what are some of the benefits that being a brand new coach brings?
Curiosity.
Curiosity. Oh, I don't know anything. I'm asking questions all over the place. It's like that 4-year-old child, right? The world is new, and I'm just going to ask questions about everything. And the same thing with a coach. Everything is new. I don't know what this is, and I don't have 5,000 experiences that are just the same to go into those assumptions. I'm just asking everything. What else?
Yeah, your mind is sort of like a blank slate where you're not stuck in your ways, so you're able to take in more learning that way.
Yeah, you don't have habits built up. Nope, this is how I do it. You don't have those stuck ways of showing up. You've just been given the raw design of how to do this, and then you just go. Yeah. What else?
That beginner's mind, with no expectation, and there's no standard, and there's no memories of,
Yeah, this is another version of like that. This is completely new. Wow. Okay, good. I've never had this conversation before. This is new. Great. What other benefits are here in this beginner stage?
There's no bad memory.
Yeah, there's no bad memories. Oh, the last time.
There's no trauma. There's like what human complexity, what is this stark defiant and all that. I thought coaches are just eager to come in, just like me.
Coaches are so eager. And in fact, we can just kind of sometimes, and this is not necessarily a bad thing, we can sometimes come bumbling in. Like there's situations where if I was paying close attention, there would be parts of me that's saying, hold it, wait a minute, don't go here. This is, this is messy, this is bad, you're not prepared for this. But this is so new, I don't even notice that, and I just go in and start coaching.
Then one more thing I think which happens also is that invariably coaches are attracted to coaching, and they're in an awe of how beautiful this world is, listening to master coaches. So it's like really living your life's purpose, not knowing the harsh realities that lie ahead, at least in the beginning.
At least in the beginning, before everything gets ruined by reality. But I love where you're pointing to, because those beginner coaches, let's be honest. This is kind of a breaking apart a little bit of a myth or a little truth telling. There is not a single coach in this world that has chosen to be a coach because it is a lucrative money-making opportunity. Now, there are coaches who are making some really good money and making a lot of it. but that is not the purpose of why they got into coaching.
True.
Because let's be honest, there are much better ways of making much better money. So as coaches, every single one of us chose this direction. In some cases, we defied common sense and rationality. I don't care. I have to do this. There's a passion, there's a purpose, there's a meaning, there's something inside us that says I need to be in this place. I need to engage in this way. I need to learn more about how this works. I need to activate and connect and wake up and bring forth this part of me that is called coach. Whatever version it is, every single coach somehow, somewhere woke up. And it was either that part of you that woke up when you walked into your training on that first class, whether it was in person or a webinar or a teleclass, or it might have been the thing that woke up beforehand and said, you got to go do this. You got to figure out where to go and what to learn. But that part woke up. And that beginner coach is the holder of that passion. We're very attached and connected to it. And that passion and that purpose and all of that fire and excitement is alive in those early stages of coaching. There's another part in here. Yes. Punit, was that a question or are you agreeing?
A question, but I can wait for you to complete.
Well, I'm going to move on. So throw it in quickly.
So my question is that this whole beginner thing, I've realized that whenever one is in company of masterful coaches, you always feel like a beginner and you want to absorb like a sponge. And when you stop reading or learning, there is a certain plateauing which happens and you start feeling I'm not a beginner anymore. And then when you again go into the company of somebody more masterful, again, you want to be that beginner to learn again and again. I know this is the phenomenon I am experiencing.
Yeah, good. Hold on to that. We're gonna keep building on that in a moment. Beautiful. So the other thing about the beginner coach is part of that passion and purpose is this is where dreaming lies. This is where possibilities lie. Infinite possibilities. Oh, remember those early days of coaching. Maybe you're still in there. Like, what are you going to do with this? I don't know. I may just do a private practice one-on-one. You know, I may coach. Maybe I'll coach groups or teams. Oh, I'll go and do business coaching. Oh, wait. I could start a center and I could offer coaches, or I could do this. There's so much possibility that exists in the world of the beginners. It's one of the most exciting gifts that we get to bring in. Anything is possible in that moment. Yes? Thumbs up, yes? Yeah. So being a beginner, it can be easy to look back and go, well, you know, when I was a beginner, and look at those new coaches. Guess what? Those new coaches have something that you might not be having right now. Because there's a gift. There's drawbacks. There's some drawbacks of being a new coach. We don't have the range. We don't have the solid structure that we can rely upon and trust. We've only been basically given a simple standard methods of coaching. So we don't really and we don't have a track record to rely upon. So it's hard to have that trust of what we do other than what we've been told. So it's an intellectual trust. Well, they told me this works, and I've watched it work on demos, and I've done this, but we don't have the personal experience yet that solidifies and says, yes, this is true. But we still have that dreaming and that possibility. We still have that innocence and that curiosity. So, beautiful, powerful gifts of beginner coaches. And by the way, they also remind us some of the basics that we forget. So many times I host a series of calls where we explore our coaching skills independently. And so many times a new coach shows up and says something so simple and basic that we, brilliant coaches, forgot. Thank you for being the keeper of the simple and basic. Yeah, because that's the stuff that works. Okay, so that's the beginner coach. Now, there's the third section, which is the intermediate coach. This is the coach that has been doing this for a period of time, maybe going into advanced training, certification, or something like that. This is typically where business really starts to build. We've been doing this now for I'm going to kind of make up a range, somewhere 2 to 5 years, could be less, could be more. It's that middle area. Let's start showing in, like, what are some of the benefits of being in that intermediate stage, that middle ground of our coaching journey? Yes, Punit.
There is slightly higher confidence and you begin to find your ground.
Yeah.
And you begin to start understanding probably what's your deeper calling within coaching, your niche. And at the same time, you know what you don't know. So the distance to travel is visible as to where I want to go. Those things start emerging.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, we start getting some experience. We start building some proof and a track record. Ooh, well, I've done this before and I've had these many calls. And oh my goodness, look, 100 hours. Ooh, I've got 500 hours. Oh my goodness, I've had this same conversation 50 times. I'm now feeling comfortable and familiar with this. I can trust myself and trust this work a little bit more. And yeah, we're also making it work now. Somebody else, what are some of the benefits and experiences of being in this intermediate stage?
I would add that there's some tweaking. So like you have some things that you've done. And so now, so there's a little bit of your own personal growth or changes that becomes you.
Yeah. Well, they taught me this basic, step-by-step process and exercise and formula to take my client. But you know what? Ooh, what if I did this instead? And I bet you I could bring in and add this thing here, and I could combine these two and kind of make a Reese's peanut butter cup of my coaching. Hey, this works and this is great. Let's put them together and see what happens. We start to experiment a little bit. We start to explore a little bit. Yeah, beautiful. What else? Some of the benefits of being in this intermediate stage.
I feel that, initially you emulate a lot of famous coaches who've taught you, etc. Like I got trained with Peter Redding, etc. You want to emulate them in the first 2 years. And then suddenly you start seeing 5 great people and start discovering yourself as to what is deeply resonating. So your own personality as a coach starts developing.
I love it. Yeah, your own individual self starts to emerge and become a part of your coaching. This is when I'm working with coaches. Oh, this is one of my favorite places, is to actually bring in your own unique skill, your own strengths, your own gifts, your own history. I get to bring in my days of waiting tables. I get to bring in my experiences as an actor years ago. I get to bring in my experiences of touring in a circus. I get to bring in being a lifeguard. I get to bring in all that stuff that was in my past and all these skills and experiences and get to be a part of my coaching now. Yeah. This is where the coach starts to emerge. And instead of being a Peter Redding coach or a CTI coach or an IPEC coach or a whatever coach where you got trained, you get to be a you coach. Yeah. You start to show up more. Brilliant.
And it also brings down anxiety, because I've felt it personally, because you have the pressure to emulate others, you're under anxiety. But when you accept yourself and your brilliance, you are showing up differently.
Yeah. Well, really, as I keep going, why waste all that time trying to be somebody else? You're you. Be you. Be the best you that you're here to be. Yeah. All right. Anybody else? What's the benefits of being in this intermediate stage? It's brilliant stuff. I'll fill in a couple of blanks here, also for the sake of time. By the way, in that beginner stage, I forgot to mention, we do pretty good coaching, but we typically get pulled into focusing on the problem. Our client brings their problem, and then we target and we work on the problem. And we work on it through a coaching way. We ask those coaching questions, but our attention is primarily ends up being on the problem, which makes perfect sense because that's what our clients are focusing on, right? Client says, here's my problem. We can't just dismiss and go, well, we are not going to talk about that. Of course we are. That's what the client came for. And so as a beginner coach, that's typically where we spend our attention. But when we get to that intermediate stage, we know that there's actually, we get to not necessarily, we don't put the problem away and get rid of it and pretend it's not there, but we go into the person, right? We're coach the person. So instead of questions like, well, what have you done? Well, what works? Well, what doesn't? Well, what's that? We go into the person. Well, so how do you feel? What's it like for you? What are you noticing here? You. That's typically the language that we start to bring in because our confidence, we need to worry about fixing the problem. We go into the client. Making sense? Yeah. This is also where we really start, as was brought up earlier, this is where we're actually stepping into reality. I need to get clients. I need to make money. I need to present myself. I got to get a niche. I got to find this. I have to, do branding. I have to get a website. I have to do all these things because I have to deal with the nuts and bolts of the business. That can be a good thing. It can be a frustrating thing, but it's a part of that intermediate coach. I have to be responsible to the creating of my business so that I can keep doing what I am here to do. Couple of drawbacks though. Being in this intermediate thing, there's something really exciting about being responsible, being fully owning this is my coaching and my business. But on the other hand, it's easy to get hooked and caught up in the details. And we get bogged down by reality, just like our clients are. So there's benefits to here, but there's also some hard, sticky spots that make it difficult. The other thing is that we often, because we're reaching out and exploring, we start to realize we have many different ways we could work with any client at any given moment. And if we're not careful, the benefit is we've got some range and versatility, but we also can get a little bit hooked and stuck as to, well, what is the right way to go? I mean, I can work with my client this way, or this way. What's the right way to go? I hear that so often working with coaches. Yeah, but what's the right way? And if we're not careful, we get overwhelmed, we get stuck. There's that anxiety that comes up that we're not doing it right. And now we have consequences. If we don't get it right, we lose a client, we lose business, we lose money, we lose reputation. So there's consequences that come along with this as well. When we're brand new coaches, I made a mistake. I'm new at this. It's my get out of jail free card. But suddenly when we're actually in the reality of it and the business part of it, now we're responsible for this. Benefits and drawbacks. There's more in here, but this is the basic stuff. And then we get to the advanced level. I'm not going to necessarily say this is MCC because there's a lot of MCC coaches who are not that powerful and masterful. They're just really excellent at what they do. I'm going to actually say something kind of radical. And this is the secret. I'm going to tell you. Anybody want to know how to get your MCC? Anybody? Just hands. Yep. I'm going to tell you the secret of how to get your MCC. If I can just figure out how to, there we go. Oh, there's everybody smiling faces. How to get your MCC. Really simple. I got my MCC because I did it right twice. I presented 2 recordings that somebody else said, yeah, that's pretty good. And then I got little check marks, and then they gave me a piece of paper that said, you have 3 letters you can put after your name. I just did it right twice. Every single MCC just performed it really perfectly to somebody else's standards in that moment. It doesn't devalue and make them you're a bad coach. There are some coaches who are MCCs who aren't as skilled and versatile. They're just good at what they do, and they presented themselves beautifully. There are also brilliant, amazing PCC, ACC, and even non-credentialed coaches that are phenomenal. So that's where, instead of looking at the credentials for these categories, we're looking at the levels of experience. And so the advanced level, that's the coach. We're going to make up a number, could be less, could be greater, 10 years and longer in general. Some of you might be there. I don't know. Some of you are probably approaching it or getting closer. So I'm going to, just for the sake of time, I'm going to kind of fill in some of the gaps here. For that advanced coach, some of the benefits are, as we've been talking about, now this is even more of that evolution, we're really good at what we do. This is where you've got that niche, you've got that specialization, you've got that clarity. When somebody comes into you with a particular problem, you instantly go, boop, 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 boop. Here's where we go, here's how we handle it. And we go right into it, and we handle it beautifully and powerfully. We also, we are powerful and skilled in a wide range of things. We've gotten, we know so many different ways to handle a particular issue, but we instantly know this is the way to go. We have that trust. We have that powerful way to go. A couple of other benefits. Again, at this point, we've gotten really fully experienced. We trust ourselves implicitly. We trust ourselves powerfully, so much that we're willing to just take risks and do anything. And we know that it's going to be powerful. Punit, something to add?
A question.
Yeah.
So beginner coaches look at problems. Intermediate tend to look at the person. What do masterful coaches look at?
It was brilliant timing. I was just ready to get there. That was perfect. See, Punit can't do Punit wrong either. How brilliant is that? Yeah, so beginner coaches typically grab on and put their focus on the problem. Intermediate coaches go to the person. Experienced, seasoned, advanced coaches, we typically focus on the possibility and the potential that's in the client. Well, what's possible? Well, what's available? What is here? Looking at that possibility and potential. There's another part in here, and this reflects back on that client can never do client wrong, which is that experienced coach also recognizes the perfection in everything. It doesn't mean that we're creating perfection. It means we acknowledge that everything here is in its own perfect way, even the mess. Even the frustration, even the stuckness, even the confusion. How perfect. Even when the phone rings in the middle of leading an international webinar, how perfect. Even when my business partner is calling, my wife is calling from downstairs, and then somebody's talking on the line, and then people have to leave, and I didn't put in the Zoom link in the right time, and hopefully everybody will get it. It's all perfect. And the benefit of this is that we then get to let go of that judgment and blame. That seasoned, advanced coach has had so much experience that we let go of all that attachment. And what helps us do that is when we recognize the perfection of everything. Got it. Couple of drawbacks of being an advanced seasoned long-term coach. As I said, we've often built our businesses based on a particular niche or focus. And so we end up doing a lot of that coaching again and again and again and again. And we got really good at it. And as a result, we forget a lot of the tools that we've learned along the way. A lot of the beginning stuff and the basic stuff and even the advanced stuff and all the stuff that we have to take classes on and all the stuff that we have to keep learning and all that. It just becomes this giant flood of information and skills and stuff. And you know what? I got it. I got this. I know how to do this. And so we sink confidently into our comfort zone, but we often forget the range and the versatility that's available. And as a result, it can be actually difficult for seasoned, experienced coaches to adapt and change in the moment. This is where I point to. It's not that they're miserable, bad, idiot, loser, moron coaches, but I've seen MCC coaches struggle and do poor coaching, not because they're bad coaches, but because they're coaching out of their element and out of their comfort place. And they've been doing it so long that that's where they've settled into the groove. It's just one of the drawbacks that comes with doing this so long. There's some other elements in here, benefits and drawbacks to all of these, but these are the basic ones. Now, there's a fourth level here. Fourth, you said there were three. Yes, I know. And this is the masterful level. This is where we strive and grow. The masterful coach. Again, hopefully you've gotten all these lists down, because the masterful coach is all three simultaneously. I'm seeing nodding heads like, oh, saw that one coming. Yeah. All three. The masterful coach is the beginner, still the beginner. Oh my goodness, everything is new. Even if I've had this conversation 5,000 times, this is still new. I've done this lesson several times. I've lost count, hundreds of times. And this is completely new every single time. But we're also the intermediate, the middle ground. Like, we're in it, we're working, we're dealing with reality, we're handling the hard stuff and the details. The beginner, we're dreamers. The middle, we're doers. And then the advanced world, we're experts. Deep, powerful confidence. I got this. And even when it's messy, got it. It works. Even when we're stuck. Even when we're in I don't know. Even when I don't know, got it. So the masterful coach is actually all three simultaneously. And this points to also what we're coaching on. The masterful coach is coaching the problem, because the problem is what the client came with. And we're coaching the person. And we're coaching the possibility and the potential that lies within them. And we're coaching that we're working and recognizing the perfection of every single moment. That's what a masterful coach is doing. We're doing all three levels. All are alive and embodied in the same moment. So, making sense? Yes? Helpful? Good nods. I'm seeing shocked faces. Like, what? Yeah. So I want to respect everybody's time. I want to throw in, there's a lot more that comes after this, but I really felt that this would be important to really establish this clarity, because here's the one I get. Every single one of you is clearly in one of these layers, these levels. And every single one of you has that masterful coach in there, because that masterful coach is in all three of these. So remember I said about how you can't grow something that's not already there. Your masterful coach is already here. Your masterful coach is that thing that woke up when you started this coaching journey. Your masterful coach is being revealed in those areas where you wrote down your confidence. Your masterful coach is alive and thriving in any of these levels. And because he or she or whatever is already there, then the rest becomes a lot easier to grow. So if we look at that 10,000 hours, right? What's at the end of that 10,000 hours now is so much more easily available. At the end of that 10,000 hours is all three levels, of which one you've already done. You're likely already in the second. And then the third is a lot easier to obtain. So I want to point to a couple of other little things quickly, just to add some other layers into this. And then I'll have a moment for questions, and then we can wrap this up. Come to the next one if you want. I believe it's on Sunday, depending on where you are in the country. And also another one, which will be the first lesson. So it's going to be a very different design. It'll be a first lesson of the class that I teach, the Fast, Fast, and Masterful Coaching. You're welcome to join that as a guest. If you want to continue, absolutely welcome and available. There's still room in it. It's a small group, but there's still room. And I'm happy to stick around after this if anybody has any questions. Otherwise, you can go to mastermycoaching.com. But I want to throw in a couple of other qualities that get discovered in this masterful place. First off, remember that beginner coach brings in infinite possibility. Anything's possible. And as a masterful coach, we hold that powerfully. The problem is that our clients and we, when we get stuck in problems, is that we confuse and collapse possibility with probability, which is the likelihood of something happening, which is based on past performance, statistics, data, proof. We make assumptions, we predict, well, this is what's going to happen. And the masterful coach holds on deeply to infinite possibility. Anything is possible. And if we look at the entire realm of history and life experience, your life and anybody else's life, amazing things have occurred. Amazing, unpredictable things have occurred. Some good, some not so good. But anything is entirely possible. 20 years ago, having video conferences real time with people entirely around the world was impossible. It was actually improbable based on our current technology. It was always possible. So as coaches, we're holding that infinite possibility. Now, here's another little math thing. Miracles happen to those who believe in them. You bet. And miracles are here constantly. So here's a little mathematics thing, again, for any math geeks that are out there. It's been estimated through various studies that we usually, one of my favorite quotes actually is from Deepak Chopra, which says, the space between every thought is filled with infinite possibility. Infinite possibility in between each and every thought. Now, it's been estimated through studies that we have roughly about 60 to 80,000 thoughts per day, per waking day. I'm assuming that's not counting dreaming and all that stuff. Most of that is not aware. It's a lot of it's unconscious, automatic, functioning thoughts, brain activity, everything's moving. But if we break that down to 16 waking hours, then that's basically about 5,000-ish thoughts every hour, which means that if we break that up and divide that by 60, now we come down to every minute, every second. Every single second, every single minute, we have 167 thoughts running in our heads. Approximately. Now, 167 infinite possibilities lie in every single minute, times 2. Because you've got your infinite possibilities in between every single one of your thoughts, and you've got infinite possibilities in between every single one of your clients. 334 infinite possibilities every single minute of your coaching. So when we fall into that trap of, I don't think it's not possible, you're not paying attention. So when we open up and we realize this is what's available, suddenly our coaching opens up and flows much more beautifully and powerfully, because now anything is possible 334 times every minute. Beautiful. I'm going to throw in one more thing here, because this was also something that was brought up. This is where that Masterful coach gets to stick and adhere with our coaching model. And this is where we get to stray and break from the coaching model. When you look at masters in any type of art world and in our culture, it's those who know the rules. They're not breaking the rules because they're rogue and they're crazy, wild, and and all of that. They know the rules. Look at master musicians, master composers, whether it's Mozart, whether it's John Williams, whether it's anybody, master musicians, they know the rules of music and notes and harmony and dissonance. And then they break them intentionally, purposefully, not to cause problems and trouble, but to create something new. In the art world, painting, in acting, in film, in cinematography, in drawing, in dance, in any type of art form, this is where you see mastery revealed. It's also in the science world. It's also in every other realm. We learn the rules and then we break them wide open. And this allows us then to create something new. This is where, and we stand in that place of full permission. We can say and do anything with full responsibility. It doesn't mean just saying anything to your client haphazardly and random and oh well, who cares? But having that freedom and that full permission to go anywhere, break the rules, and own it and be fully responsible. Making sense? Yeah. So we are up on time. I want to respect everybody's time. There's certainly a lot more to this, and I don't mean it to be like, hey, if you want more, but it's true. If you want more, come to the next one, which is free, or sign up for the class, mastermycoaching.com. There's so much more, and this lesson sets out the clarity of this is what we're moving towards. This is the coach that you get to become. And then the whole course is about how to get there. We set the insights and then everything else sails and flies. I'll stick around if anybody has any other questions about anything else, but I want to leave a little bit of time here for anybody that has any comments about what you've gotten from this and what you want to take away from this. Yeah, put it.
First, a question, and
Yeah.
because I don't know, it's sometimes when you seek something from the universe, things start happening. I just want to share that I just cleared my PCC, and the
Yay.
intention was, thank you. The intention was to work towards my MCC now going forward, and also interested in mentoring and doing other things now, being the
Wonderful.
intermediate coach typically, but also a beginner. I'll always remain a beginner, I guess. This is kind of giving me some taste of what mastery sounds like, looks like, and I think it's a very opportune moment for me that I attended your session today.
Yeah.
Uh, One question I have is I often hear that, become so present for your client that you become almost invisible. And also at some level, you become one with the client. What are those states? Can you tell us something little more about that?
So one of the things that's in this list, I'll refer to it. It's actually, there's a both and. So we are so into our clients. We're so fully present, Masterful Coach. We're so fully present. We're in, the outside world disappears. We're in that synergy. We're in that deep, powerful flow. It's give and receive, and we're all in this one moment. And at the same time, we're up and out and being the big observer and watching the whole thing. Because if we're so deeply in, we're missing a lot of stuff that's coming in through our signals and our senses and all of that. So it feels like a paradox, but it actually is where we end up being fully in the client and in the coaching and stepping out of the coaching at the same time. Does that make sense? Yeah. Anybody else? Learning, discovery, takeaway that you've gotten from this helpful?
Yeah, for me, it's very, very helpful. I'm actually shopping for, like what Punit said, mentoring and getting myself ready for MCC.
Yeah.
I haven't passed my PCC yet, hopefully end of the year, but I'm already planning for next year. So I'm asking how frequent is this Masterful coaching program and how long does it take?
Yeah, the class begins next week. All right, I'll do a little bit here. The class begins this week. It runs for 29 weeks. It is, so many coaches have really claimed that this is probably the most powerful thing that they've ever done in their coaching. There's nothing else like this out there. This follows and digs into the science of coaching so that we can trust it much more thoroughly. The artistry of coaching so that you emerge more deeply and powerfully in full range, and the performance of coaching so that you bring your best and full self. Remember, we talked a bit about that agenda at the beginning. We actually get to own and master our coaching agendas in there. So it runs for 29 weeks. It offers tons of credits, and ACSTH approved if you're needing that. And this will open up and reveal all the secrets of how to get there and grow in your coaching quickly and powerfully. Every single week, the coaches who are in the current classes watch it just stretch and grow. Some people have said that it's like having 4 fire hoses aimed at you. The good news is that you, throughout the course of time, it sinks in so that it's not just an intellectual knowing, it's a deep knowing that you have when you're done. I'm happy to talk. I could talk for hours about it, but does that answer your questions?
Yeah, it does give me a big overview. It helps with my planning. Just one more. I know Robbie is wants to ask, and I want to give her space.
Sure.
I'm not with ICF, but because of the credential, I'm going to be a member.
Perfect.
But I'm with EMCC. How are your relationship with EMCC? Because this is more, I think, what you said fit into the culture of EMCC more than ICF. I see. I'm so sorry.
It's a little bit.
This is how I see it.
Yeah, and it's not officially, although I've been curious to actually officially link with them, but it's really looking more at the deeper sense of what is coaching. across the board. And so it does take from ICF, but it also takes from other sources. ICF has established this is ICF coaching, but there's other variations. And so again, looking at that quest that I was on in my early days, and still it's, well, great, I got it. This, and schools are the same way too, right? Well, this is our way of training. Well, we learned it this way. Well, here's what makes us different from everybody else. And great, that's all exciting. But for me, what really is exciting is let's pull in and get the best of everything so that we get to stand firmly as coaches. It's wide range, solid, grounded, fully expressed. And so, yeah, I love being in alignment with that as well. Yeah, beautiful. Any other questions?
I just wanted to, first of all, say thank you that
Oh,
today
you're
really,
welcome.
yeah, the way that you laid this out, really, I'm walking away with more of the kind of coach that I am and growing that. So I just really,
Yay!
yes, I really want to thank you for that. But I just have one quick question about the word mentor that is added to what this program is. Can you speak a little bit about that? It's just so vague. I wasn't really sure what that means.
Mentor is not, it was added in, not in the title, but it's if people need mentoring hours for credentialing, this provides 7 of those 10 required mentoring hours as well.
Was there an extra fee for that? Is that what that was?
It's included. What it is then you take the credit hours and you convert them over to mentoring. So you just can't double dip.
Okay. But wasn't there something in the sale of the program that's offering mentoring? Is it with you? Is there something additional to the program?
There is a one-on-one additional package. Absolutely correct. And so for mentoring hours for ICF, typically you need 10 mentoring hours, 7 of which can be claimed in the group. But those 3 need to be one-on-one, and so there's a special discounted add-on package that's available at registration. Or if you decide later on, hey, maybe I should get that, then absolutely. And that's where we get to focus more on what you specifically, your coaching, business building, or specific issues with your clients, or taking the stuff that you're learning. Yeah, I'm having trouble still finding that perfection of everything. Great. Let's look more deeply into it on finding your how. Somebody asked before, like, well, how do you handle it when clients are, stuck or frustrated or defiant? In the class, there's tons of techniques and places and resources and structures and designs. And it's also what's going to work best for you. Remember that you emerging in your coaching.
Totally. I love the way you said that. Thanks.
Yeah, that's where this is actually part of the bigger program, the Masterful You Advanced Coach Training Program, because it's about you. So yeah, but check it out. I also popped in the chat my email, ben@bdu.org. So please, if you have any other questions, I'm happy to schedule a complimentary call and answer them all directly. Otherwise, go and check out the class. And if this is something that you want to grab it right now, and all of that. And if you want to come to the other events that are going to be like this, we're going to cover similar stuff, but clearly the flow will go in a slightly different direction. But thank you all for coming today. And Shanta, thank you. Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much, Ben. Thank you.
My pleasure. Like I said, I'm going to end this recording, but I'm happy to stick around just if anybody has any specific questions as well. But thank you all for coming. Take one thing that you've learned, that you got from this, and whether or not it's deeply incorporated in your coaching yet, you can still hold it in your write it down, put it where you coach. Have it there as just a quick reminder. We do so much like this in the class, of these quick little visual reminders. You already know how to brilliantly, beautifully coach. This is just those little tweaks to go, that's right, I need to be here. Remember the perfection. Remember, focus on the possibility, infinite possibility. Whatever it is that you got, just give yourself that little reminder to let that muscle stretch a little bit more. Okay. Thus, I'm going to end the recording, If you got to go, thank you for coming. Come back again. Share this. Share the future ones with other coaches. Say, get on this thing, please, because you know coaches, I don't. And like I said, I'm happy to stick around for any personal one-on-ones. But thank you all for coming.